All right, and we're back. And on the last episode, what we did is we learned how to scatter items throughout the level. But what we didn't do is we didn't add weight. I'm sorry if you can hear my computer screaming at me, but we didn't add weight to the items or to the wood. So what we need to do is add that wood to our data table. So let's get started on that first. So right now we have rocks, stone knife, and a torch. Those are the three things that we can pick up so far, besides money. We don't want money to have weight. But let's add another thing here. And what we need to add is the scrap wood. Whoops. So if you go down here and you look at scrap wood, it's going to be called scrap wood underscore BPC. So underscore BPC. So that's what we need to put in our item data table. So add new row, scrap wood underscore BP underscore C. Now, for the scrap wood, we're going to call it scrap wood. And for the weight, the wood is going to weigh like 5 pounds each. If the torch weighs 6 pounds, torch weighs 5 pounds too. Let's change that. So torch weighs 5 pounds, wood weighs 5 pounds, rock weighs, it says 5 pounds, but let's change that down to like, I don't know, 2 pounds. All right, stone knife is 1. Okay. So scrap wood is 5. Let's keep on adding some stuff. For the description, scrap piece of wood. For the actor, we're going to put our scrap wood there. And for the worth, we're going to say that a wood is worth $1. Rock is worth nothing. Stone knife is worth 2. Torch is worth 7. Wood is worth 1. That makes sense. Cool. Now that we got that, let's go back to our scrap wood. And when we pick up our scrap wood, just like we did in the rocks, we need to add the weight. So what you could do is you could copy it from the rocks. So open up your rock BP. The way we added the weight was we got the data table row. So let's just copy all of this and the check weight. So copy, and we'll paste it in here. So move the destroy actor back and paste all of that in between. And all we did was, let's review. We get the data table row, the item data table, the one that we just manipulated. And instead of the rocks, we need to get scrap wood. So out row, we're going to break it. We're going to get the weight. This current weight should be hooked up to our third person character. We'll get the weight of the scrap wood, add it to the current weight, set the current weight, and this current weight needs to be hooked up to our third person character. Then we'll check weight from our third person character, so hook that up to the third person character, and then we'll destroy the actor. So now, whenever we pick up wood, it'll add weight to us. So let's go ahead and test that out. Here, I'll drop some wood right here in our level. Let's drop some wood back here and some beside it. And let's pick it up. So check our weight up there is 0 out of 25 right now. Pick up the wood, 5 out of 25. Pick up the rocks. Everything's back working right. So now our weight for the wood is right. So now we need to craft a axe or an axe. So what we're going to do is we're going to craft an axe. The way that we're going to craft this axe is, first save everything. And this needs to be another master pickup item for real, because we need to be able to drop the axe. You can't drop the scrap wood, but you can drop any weapon like the torch or the knife. So we'll make sure that that's all tight in the end. But anyways, master pickup item, we need to create a new one. But we don't have one yet. So let's import something here. So we got the torch. Let's just import right here. Oh, it's weapons right here. And let's do a new folder, and we're gonna call it axe or stone axe. Now in your stone axe, you can import anything. I got mine off of Meshy again. I don't know if you watched the video before. All you gotta do is type in what you want, and it'll print a 3D object for you. So I just got a stone axe from there. Here's my stone axe. And it's looking off the chain. All right, that's all I need. Perfect. So that's what we're going to end up crafting. But before we do that, let's bring in a picture. I took a picture of the stone axe so that we can use it for our hood. And this is going to be a temporary picture until we get our full picture. So let's handle that picture part first. Let's go to our crafting menu. HUD's crafting menu. Now, let's add a picture here. So copy this picture, copy, paste, and we're going to put it right underneath it so that you know how to build craft an axe. So instead of using this picture for all 3 of these, we need to replace this picture with the stone knife picture that we just brought in. So for me, that's in my weapons folder. Here's the picture right here. It has a red underline. So just replace it for all 3. All right, compile and save. Scrap wood, perfect. So out of 5 scrap wood, let's do copy and paste that. So now we can put that right underneath it because it's going to take 5 scrap wood and 2 rocks. So let's change that out of 2 rocks. Which it doesn't matter right there. It matters in the binding, really. But this is just so we know what it's going to say. So it takes 2 rocks and 5 scrap wood to build this stone axe. So go ahead. Oh, actually, we got to put the title of it above it. So let's move all of this down, actually. I'm going to highlight all of it and move it down just a bit. So I can take the title, copy and paste, and instead of say stone knife, I'll call it stone axe. All right, bet. So it's going to take all of that. So let's go ahead and make that happen. By pressing the button, that's how we're going to make it happen. So on clicked or on pressed, it doesn't matter. I think we did on clicked last time, so we'll stick with it. But remember, on click, we need to cast it a 3rd-person character. And get player character. Then we need to see if they have enough items to build this weapon. So we're going to make the weapon happen on the blueprint of the character. But let's just do the check here first. So what do they need? They need 5 scrap wood. So let's see if they have that. So pull off the 3rd-person character and type in scrap wood. Get scrap wood, and we're going to see if it's greater than or equal to 5. And so drag off of this red thing and say and Boolean. So they have to fulfill 2 conditions in order for this to work. The second condition is we need to drag off of here and say rocks, not roiks. Get the rocks. And then this has to be greater than or equal to, what do we say? 2. So greater than or equal to 2. If that is the case, then we can put our branch. So it has to fulfill both of those conditions. If you would have put an or, it would have fulfilled one or the other condition, either or. But we said it has to fulfill both. And if it does, we need to make the stone axe. So let's go ahead and do that. Save. Let's go back to our 3rd-person character. All right, 3rd-person blueprint. And remember where we made the weapon? So let's check out and find that out. Oh, over here, make stone knife. Here we go, make stone knife. All we did was, we're gonna have to copy that whole function and just change out everything. So everything right here, copy it all. Copy. And we're gonna paste it right over next to it. So paste, because we're gonna end up copying all of this and just changing everything. That's the easiest way to do it, because we already wrote it. So this one's gonna be called make stone axe. So that's the first thing we change. Next thing we look at is we say the data table. Yeah, we want that, but we want to first get, all right, rocks is cool, but instead of -3, we're going to -2. And then set rocks to whatever. Delete set stone knives, because we're going to have to replace that with a new variable. So the new variable that we're going to make is going to be called stone axe. It's an integer. Now, you could have done this way in a different way than creating all these variables. Like this could have been in a struct, but I didn't set it up like that. Maybe we'll tweak it into that before it gets too large. But now I'm gonna just drag that stone axe in and say set stone axe to get stone axe +1. Okay. Now, before we move on, let's fix some things here. So all it's doing is subtracting the rocks. So now we need it to do the same thing. Copy the data table, paste that right after it subtracts the rocks. Then we're going to get the scrap wood. Yeah, scrap wood. Sorry, hold on. What is this right here? What is it breaking? Let's go into nothing. Okay. Scrap wood. And when that row is found for the player, we're going to set the scrap wood. So set to scrap wood -5. So get scrap wood and -5. I'm going like I'm slow, but that's all right. We're going to make it work. I need to make sure this is perfect. So on row found, that's what we're going to do. Bop, bop. Then you can actually delete this little out row thing. It's not going to anywhere, just to make our code cleaner. All right, so then what we need to do is set stone axe to what we just made, stone axe +1. What the fuck? That was... I was not talking to my Siri. My Siri just started talking to me. That's what's creepy. Anyways, now we need to set has stone axe to true. So we need a new variable over here called has stone axe, and it's a Boolean this time. Has stone axe question mark. Remember to change it to a Boolean, and we're going to check it real quick. So get it real quick and check it. If they do have the stone axe, then we're going to just delete that one, delete this. We're going to set has stone axe to true, on true. And also on false too, because all we're doing is making the stone axe. Every time they craft it, even if they do have it, we're still going to set it to true. Okay. But on the top one, what we need to do is do the current wait function. And what it's doing is pulling off the rocks and doing the weight. And what we need to do is change that weight function. So let's plug that into the weight function. And the bottom one will delete has stone knives. And now we need to make the stone knife in his hand and set it to visibility to true. Okay, so let's do that before we move on. So mesh, viewport, character. Let's freeze him real quick. Pause animations. And where's that torch at? We'll just make a duplicate of that. Connect it to his right hand. Or was there a socket that we made there? All right. Now, instead of it being a torch this time, let's call it a stone axe. Oh. Stone axe weapon. Okay, cool. And let's change it into the stone axe. So where is that at? That would be in my weapons folder in the stone axe, and it's going to be the light blue one this time. All right, now you can't see it because the visibility is set to off. So let's turn the visibility on. Whoa-dee. Isn't that ginormous, right? So let's bring it down. All right, cool. And that's still kind of big. That's way small. That works right there. Okay, cool. That's good enough for me. If you want it to be, perfect, you got to get it perfect for your game. But for me, I'm going to make sure it's in his hand, and we're going to keep it rolling. Okay, compile and save. Turn the visibility back off. Okay, now we're going back to our event graph. So instead of stone knife hip, because the stone axe is not going on his hip, we're going to just set the visibility of the stone axe to true. Stone axe weapon. To true. Okay, now current weight function. Let's go into our current weight function. So double click into that, and you can see that it has all this here. We need to edit it. So how we did the torch, we need to just pull back here on the weight function. We need to add another input. This one's going to be called stone axes. And it's going to be an integer. All right. Cool. Now we need to get the data table row. So copy, paste, plug it in before this. All this is going to be doing is adding the weight. So let's go ahead and in the current weight function, let's add another input, call it scrap wood. All right, cool. For the scrap wood one, just like the other ones, we're going to break the out row. And all we're going to do is get the weight and multiply it times the weight of the scrap wood. So that way we know how much weight it is. How much weight times how many scrap woods we have. Basically, that's what it is. All right, and then this needs to be added to this. So this should have a plus sign. And all we need to do is add this one. Oops, not that one. This one. All the way to that plus sign. All right, perfect. Now we can replace the total weight with that. And lastly, we have to add a BP for the stone axe so that we can add it to the weight here. Because we're almost done here. Because all we have to do in the third person character here now. Let's go back to our event graph. And so after it's just gonna check the weight, we should get rocks and stone axes. Plug that into stone axes. Current weight, set the current weight to whatever, and then check the weight again. Check the weight to see if we're overweight or not. So real quick, let's go ahead and make the BP for the stone axe, so that we can finally pick it up. All right, so right click here. No, actually in our blueprints, assets, pickups. I would make it off the master item, I believe. Create a child blueprint. And we're gonna call this one stone axe underscore BP. Now double click in the stone axe, and we're going to go ahead and replace it with our stone axe. So replace it, the mesh, with the light blue. There it goes. Compile and save. Let's throw this thing in our world to see how big it is. About there. About there. Maybe smaller. Right there is cool. Save. All right, bet. Now we'll go to here, stone axe. I guess default scene. Oh, scroll to the top, my bad. There you go. Call it stone axe. Bop, 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 bop. We'll add the pickup code to it in a moment, but let's go ahead and now add it to our data table. So our items data table, we need to go ahead and add the stone axe that we just made. So add a new one. And if you don't know what it's called, hover over it here. It's called stone axe underscore BP underscore C. So that's what we're going to call the new row. Double click S stone axe underscore BP underscore C. And the name of it will be called stone axe. And the weight is going to be heavy because it takes 2 stones, which is 2 pounds, and then what, 5 scraps of wood. So that's 5 times 5 is 25. Damn, this shit's gonna be heavy as hell. I'm just gonna say it's 15 pounds. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? That's too heavy. And description: an axe made from stone and wood. A simple axe made of stone and wood. All right. Actor, we're going to get that stone axe that we just made. Bow. And the worth. How much should it be worth, y'all? Maybe like, because it's an axe, but it's not a good axe. It's like a stone axe. Maybe it'll be worth, if a torch is worth 7, then this stone axe could at least be worth 5. Bet. Save. All right, back in the third person current weight function. Now we can do the data table for the stone axes. So copy this data table, paste it here, plug it up to here, put row found, and we're going to say stone axes for this stone axe. And all we're going to do is break the out row once more. And we're going to get the weight and multiply it times how many stone axes. If we don't have any, it will just multiply times 0. All we got to do now is plus, so add this to the final one. So we're going to do a plus. And hold Alt to move, oops, not Alt, I'm sorry. Hold Control to move the little line here. I want it in the bottom one, so I can plug that to the top and then replace that. Bow. Compile and save. Now our weight function is good there. It's going to calculate the stone axes when we have them. Now, last thing that we have to do, whew, we're rolling on this one. This is a good episode here. The last thing we have to do is let's go ahead and tweak this stone axe. I'm gonna pull this sphere down a little bit here. Widget, that's fine, but let's make sure that it says what it needs to say. So put it on the screen, type in visibility. Much too small, just as I suspected. Make it bigger. And we should be good. Type in visibility again. Turn it off. Turn the screen, world back to screen, compile, save. All right, when you pick up this stone knife, event interact. What we want to happen is the same thing that happens when you pick up the stone knife. So if you can double click on your stone knife and just we're about to copy and paste all of that. So copy and paste. All right, cool. So instead of, we just got to go through and replace everything now. So basically, we're going to get stone axes. So get stone axes and add 1 to it. So plug that in. And then we need to set stone axes. So set stone axe to that number here. Then we need to set has stone axe set it to true. Then we could do a current weight function, and because this is the stone knives, we'll just check the stone knives here. So stone axes, I'm sorry. Stone axe right there. Check that, set current weight. Then we'll drag off the stone axe from the third person character. So the stone axe weapon, which would be at the bottom for me. Get stone axe weapon. And we'll plug that into the set visibility to true. And then we'll keep that check weight, all that stuff right there, and then the destroy actor. That looks good to me. So basically, what should happen when you pick up this stone, when you pick up this little stone axe off the ground, it should add to the character and set it visible. Now, what we need to make sure is when it does set it visible, that it sets the other ones invisible. But let's go ahead and just at least just make sure that it all works. So there's my little stone axe. My animations are paused. There's my stone axe in my hand. Cool. All right, so everything should be good. Let's double check the HUD that we have. Boom, boom. Our HUD, crafting HUD. Let's finish it up here. So on true, it should say make stone axe. So drag off a third person character and say make stone axe. Okay. Compile, save that. In our third person character, when we make the stone axe, it'll make it all the way and check the weight. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. Perfect. Let's try it out. And before we end the episode, let's go ahead and fix that HUD on so on our crafting HUD, let's see this rocks one. Let's go ahead and bind it. The text right here, let's make a new binding. This binding is going to be the same as the other binding. So all we did And this one is going to get third person character, get player character. And all we need to do is get rocks. Get rocks. So format text. And we're going to call this one rocks inside the curly brackets out of 2 rocks. Perfect. Plug your rocks into the rocks, and that should rock your socks. Yeah, dig. There we go. All right, cool. So you need such and such rocks. We'll clean this crafting menu up to make it look way better. But for now, we need to know all the things that we can craft and put it on this menu. So then we can clean it up. So that's cool. Maybe you can craft a torch. Maybe you can, but we'll have to figure out how to do that, right? Maybe you need some, like a cloth or some shit. I don't know, some fire, kerosene, I don't know. Anyways, we'll figure it out. That's it. That's all I wanted to show you guys. And since everything is working, I will holler at you on the next one. Peace.
Run to the money, on my feet, don't fail. The DA and the judge wanna do their best to jail. I done heard it all.
So, boom, boom, pick up a rock, another rock. I don't need that many rocks, but pick up that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm moving so slow. All right, let's put my crafting menu and scrap wood 5 out of 5 rocks. Gotta set that. But now let's close the menu. And I got my stone axe in my hand. Yo, what? That is lit. We crafted a stone axe, and that's all I wanted to do this episode. So next time, like I said, we're going to be able to equip the stone axe the correct way so that we can swing it, give it damage, unequip it, drop it, all kinds of things to make it more, more of a game. But I'm glad that we were able to craft it in this episode. That's where I'm going to save, and I'm going to holla at y'all in the next one. Peace.